Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Have you ever met someone who you knew was dangerous or something was just really off about them? Or have you been in a situation where you knew if you didn't get out of it, something bad was going to happen? I have just two, but for some reason I feel like I've been in those situations several times. Whatever. Anyway, I don't remember this myself, but my aunt told me this happened to me. 4 or 5 years old, playing with chalk in the front yard. Family and backyard, not sure why the fuck no one was watching me. My family can be pretty paranoid and cautious. My aunt snaps and realizes someone needs to find me and watch me. As she is coming out to the front, there is a stranger, a man getting out of his car and coming towards me. As soon as he sees my aunt coming towards me from the house, he turns right around and gets in his car and speeds off. My aunt, 15 or 16 at the time, didn't think to write down his license plates. Be a couple years ago. Mom tells me about Stupid Kid Frost and various Latin old school hip hop artist concert at Raunchy Club. Decide what the hell I'll bite. Go with mom, meet up with cousin and her dad, my uncle. My mom splits for a bit, and so has my uncle. Drinking a bit with my cousin. See mom, she's making out with one of the artists, one of the rappers from that song, Back to the Hotel. Really fucking pissed. She's been telling me about how she wants to get back with my dad and had supposedly been talking to him. My mom's new groupie status gets us backstage. Cousin offers to share a blunt. Smoke until the show is over. I'm pretty high, but I am also aware of my surroundings. Cousin is pretty fucked up. Walk out. Cousin fucking falls in front of everyone in the stupidest way. I now know I really need to pay attention to what is going on. Looking for one of the fucking responsible adults we came with. Find uncle, he's also fucked up. Eyes are bloodshot, his body is swaying. Man, you drunk as a skunk.jpg. Decide I need to find my mom to drive everyone home. She never drinks while out, she doesn't need to drink to be fucking crazy. While I'm talking to my uncle, there's this super thin guy. His eyes are wide, he's jittery and circling us. I swear he knows we are all fucked up. I'm scared we're gonna be on the fucking news tomorrow dead and raped and shit. Find mom. The rapper she was messing around with wants her to drive him back to his hotel room. My mom had to be fucked up too. I know she is no saint, but I've never seen her act so slutty and irresponsible in my entire life. She sees none of us are able to drive my uncle's car back home, but leaves in her car with the rapper to his hotel anyway. Did that just fucking happen? PNG. This guy is still watching us with his huge fucking evil eyes. I'm feeling dread. If we don't die because of this crackhead watching us, I'm going to die in a fucking car crash tonight. I rushed my uncle and cousin to the car. My uncle assures me he can drive. I'm high as shit, would rather this fucker be responsible for the car crash. I'm wide awake and catch my uncle falling asleep at the wheel several times, swerving like fucking crazy. Make it home. I know it could have just been me high as hell and paranoid, but I was so scared. This guy was circling us as we discussed who was driving home. He was skipping around us, with an eerie smile. I'd like to hear your stories. I'm sure any story is better than mine. Any with much more danger, scary vibes involved?
In middle school, I think, it could have been high school, I had this really weird friend for a couple of months. His name was Draven. He said his dad got it from a movie or something. I never felt like I was in danger around him, but there was something off about him. He always spoke in a monotone kind of way, and even when he smiled and laughed, it seemed like it wasn't really convincing. He also said he took medication for anxiety and stuff. He never got angry or embarrassed or anything. It just always seemed like he was emotionless. He moved away after that. Perhaps his demeanor was a byproduct of the medication? I don't really know anything about the side effects of that stuff on kids.
OK/X/ I've been wanting to tell you this for a while. For some background, I work in a petrol station located on the highway. Mostly night shifts, 3 p.m. to midnight, so I'm used to the weird, the creepy, and the downright paranormal. But this normal shift, people coming and going. It's about 7, things are dark and the store is slowing down a bit. Behind the console area. Look to my left and lock eyes, not that I could mind you, with a woman. Frail, thin, elderly, with wrinkled skin and giant fly-eyed sunglasses on, that cover half her face. Immediately, get the jitters from her. She walks slowly to the door. I had to manually make it open to let her in as the auto doors didn't pick her up. Makes her way to the console. Stares at me, can't tell, still wearing those creepy sunnies.
Can you come outside and take a look at my car? I think something's wrong.
The voice is soft in volume but deep and resonating, like I felt it more than I heard it. Decline, explain policy with leaving as only staff on site.
Okay then.
She walks off to the toilet. Now here is where alarm bells start going off. Serving other customers, stragglers here and there. She comes out of the bathroom after 5 minutes. Walks over to me again.
There's no toilet paper, could you come get me some?
Alarm bells, something in my head says not to go out there. Get some staff toilet paper from behind the console. Here you go, ma'am. Her demeanor is sour, or as far as I can tell with those fucking sunnies.
Okay.
She walks back into the toilet. About another 5 minutes, she walks back out, and wanders around the shop. I watch her and notice she flicks her head in my direction every now and then, like scanning me. She walks to the coffee machine, then calls out to me. Her voice is louder this time, but it feels more like a knife this time, shrill and freezing.
There's no milk in here, can you replace it? I'd like a coffee.
I know I should do it, but fuck something is fucking up. Alarm in my body and brain was screaming not to. Decline and say, I can't leave the console at this hour of the night. She gets visibly annoyed, saying how shitty my customer service is. She threatens to contact my manager if I don't come out and change the milk. Decline and apologize, even off manager's number. She tries 3 more times to get me out over the next 20 minutes. Finally gives up and walks off, glaring at me through the windows as she rounds the shop out of sight. Rest of the shift goes by without a hitch. No creepy things, surprisingly mellow and normal shift. I still have a sense of dread in my stomach. Swap over and leave at 12:30 a.m., walking to my car about 50 meters in the parking lot. As I get closer, the fucking glasses, scarf and gloves she was wearing around folded neatly, the glasses resting on top, in a pile on the ground by my driver's side door. Look around, a sense of dread intensifying. Quick as a flash I unlock my car, jump in and lock it again. No time to relax, start the car, and gun it out of there. Never been so fearful in my life. That sense of dread never left. I got home and needed a few drinks before I could loosen up enough to even consider sleep.
This might not seem freaky, but the revelation that I had at the end freaked me out to no end. B17. Still awake in bed at 5 a.m. Getting kinda, sorta light out. Hear the sound of our pool cleaner shit very clearly. I can only hear that kind of stuff when the sliding glass door is open in the other room. See a shadow of a person in my bathroom. Immediate nope. Yell, Dad? The motherfucker cuts and runs. Run through my bathroom to my other room. Sliding glass door is open. See no one. My whole yard is surrounded by large, concrete walls that would take some time to scale. Most houses in Arizona are like that. The only other way to leave is through two normally locked gates. I'll get back to that. Freak the fuck out and check with my parents. One family member had been sitting at a desk with a clear view of the whole backyard at around this time. Around the exact time that it had happened, she had gone for her routine treadmill walk thingy. Keep in mind, this was a daily routine. Other family members were asleep, and normally were at this time every day. This just so happened to be the one day where I forgot to lock my sliding glass door, I forgot to lock the gate, and it happened at the exact time that I was normally asleep, and my family member who was usually awake at the time was away from where she had a clear view of the backyard. This led me to the conclusion that someone knew our whole fucking routine, and had been silently plotting a robbery, or perhaps something worse, for quite some time. The revelation that we had possibly been stalked was freaky. If someone wanted to, they could peer into my house at the dead of night from my sliding glass door and not be noticed, which they probably did at one point or another. I now have a Doberman and sleep with a bat.
This might not seem scary, but it sure gave me the willies. Got a tip from a friend that some electronics and shit got dumped in the back of my little development. He rode around on a bike and just happened to pass this shit. Claims to have seen some NES games and an air hockey table, among other things very neatly arranged in boxes. One day I grab the guy and we drive down there. The back of the neighborhood is essentially abandoned. All of the builders just dropped the lots back there years ago and never came back. Overgrown brush and shit going into the road. Come to the cul-de-sac where all the stuff is. It's an absolute catastrophe back here. Like the Hulk found the stuff and went to town on it. A box appears to have been thrown from one end of the circle to the other, with its contents strewn across the road. Air hockey table broken clean in half, but otherwise okay. There's an NES that has had its top half completely ripped off haphazardly. A few of the games have cookie-cutter chunks missing from them. There's a Sega Saturn also ripped in half. So naturally, we assume that some weirdo came back there and let off some steam. Not so bad. One of the games was intact, and that's all we could salvage. But wait, there's more. About a week later, my friend tells me there's even more shit left back there now. We journey there again, hoping to beat the Vidya destroyer to his prize. The mess from before is still present, and there's a bunch of new things scattered in the grass and bushes surrounding the cul-de-sac. PS2 controllers on the roads. An old DVD player loose in the grass, quite a distance back from the rest of the stuff. A child's car seat relatively unharmed. Something that I assume is a small tub for bathing an infant, filled with yellowish-brown liquid. Stayed the fuck away from this one. Assorted pieces of dolls all over. Literally 50+ VHS tapes scattered about, ranging from porn to episodes of TV shows. Not counting an entire box full of them too. We don't really find anything of interest. Call it quits after a while more out of worry that someone else will show up and go nuts. We're driving home one day and figure, what the hell? Let's take a look and see if whoever's dumping left more shit. All of the VHS tapes are gone, otherwise about the same as far as we can tell. Notice a bunch of weird graffiti on the way in, on the pavement and the few street signs visible. I've got a bad feeling about this, Scoob. Look back to our parked car just in case. There's another car coming down the street towards us. This is bumfuck nowhere. Nobody lives this far back and there can't be much of a reason to head off on this road just to see the dead end. They're going very slow, and turn off just before entering the cul-de-sac. Both of us are a little shaken. agree to pack it up and hoof it before they come back. It's getting to the point where I wish there wasn't more. I didn't think it'd be this much to type. Mention this little spot to a different pal in conversation. He's eager to have a look himself. Figure why not? Surely nothing could happen. For whatever dumbass reason, we decided to go at night. There are very few streetlights back here. Dark as fuck even with headlights. We reach the turn to get onto the road leading to the cul-de-sac and there's already weird shit going on. Two women in white dresses are on the side of the road. No car in sight. Doing what looks to be picking the tall grasses and shit out of the ground in the darkness. They look right at us as we turn and pass them. We turn down the radio and slow a bit, just in case somebody is already there. As we reach the turn in, we spot a black car parked in the very middle of the circle. Windows pitch black, nobody around the car in sight. Turn the opposite way. Figure it's best not to investigate this. Look off into the trees nearby. See the two women standing there. They must have followed us a bit on the way back there a bit. There's another time that isn't really worth greentexting. We went back another time to find a different car parked the same way as the other one, with all of its doors wide open without a soul around anywhere. It wasn't exactly the type of car you just leave unattended, either. It was very nice. In the end, it's not so scary to me anymore, but something weird is probably going on back there that I'd rather not get involved with.
Here's something that happened to me a few years back. Must have been about 13-ish? Anyway, walking back from a friend's house in December, January time. Quite late, but the way home is well lit. Keeping a hurried pace as I walk. Hear voices behind me as I walk. No, walk faster. Break into a damn near sprint. One of them grabs me by the shoulder. Says something like,
"Hey kid, you seen a dog around here?"
I start freaking out and shouting that I haven't seen a dog. The other one grabs me and turns me round to look at a park. Says the dog got lost in there and asks me to help look. Both of them have a firm grip on my arms. One of them was a really tall and thin black guy and the other was a white guy that was built like a brick shithouse, as we say over here. Images of being assaulted and killed or some shit in my head. Start shaking and knees go. They're reassuring me that the dog will be fine. I start bawling, full on crying. At this point, another man starts screaming his bollocks off. I can't turn my head due to fear. Men let go and the guy runs over. Asks me what was going on and tells me he called the police, then came out to see if I was fine. Hug this beautiful man and go to his house to phone parents. Fuck knows what they were planning, but it wasn't going to be nice. I sat in his house for a few minutes, then the police arrived. They took me home and told my parents what was going on, and in the morning I gave them a full description. Never caught them, I don't think, but it really shat me up. The worst part was how forceful they were. I wouldn't be fucking typing it if not for that guy.
Here's a little story from my own life that convinced me of the value of intuitions regarding people, even vague ones that seem to come from just a vibe you can't put your finger on. I once met this guy at a party and added him to MSN Messenger. This was in the days before Facebook. I never thought much of it at all. I never actually figured we'd become friends. One day, out of the blue, he messages me and starts questioning me about this girl I used to date. Apparently he knew her too. I found the whole thing so bizarre. Why was he suddenly writing to me to ask questions about this? It creeped me out to no end. I don't mean just like a normal creeped out like you get when someone seems a little off. The whole time this conversation was going on, I was asking myself, what the ever-loving fuck is going on here? Something just didn't feel right. Didn't feel right in a big way. He wouldn't tell me why he needed to know these things, he just kept asking and pressing forward. This guy the first barely knew. The thing is, I didn't act on my feeling of apprehension. He continued to message me more and I just got used to it. I later figured out the reason he was interested in my relationship with this chick was because he really liked her at the same time. Anyway, he started messaging me pretty frequently. Eventually I got over the creeped out feeling. One day he asked me to hang out with him, and I did. When I actually came over to his house to hang out, the creeped out feeling came back big time. The whole situation was so weird. We didn't play video games or watch movies or anything. We just sat there, he in one chair and me in the other, and it felt at times like he was interrogating me. It was so messed up. Something about the situation screamed, "Get the fuck out of here," but I didn't know back in those days to trust my intuitions about people. We're generally taught to be tolerant and to ignore vibes about people as mere prejudice. Anyway, this went on. I disregarded that intuition about him and we became friends. It ended up becoming the most toxic and harmful relationship in my life. The guy was just the definition of an emotional vampire. He'd demand things from you. He'd be unrelentingly critical. He would insult you all while claiming to be your friend. He'd hold grudges for years and work slowly and methodically and quietly behind the scenes to get revenge. He never accepted any guilt or apologized for anything. He always assumed he was right. He insisted that you always owed him something, while at the same time he seemed to think that it was impossible for him to owe anything to someone else. I wish I could say I eventually found out this dude murdered cats or something, but he didn't. He was subtler than that. And yet it was like he had the same basic psychology of a serial killer or sadist without actually physically killing anyone. He would wage his war against you psychologically through these really bizarre mind games that were so subtle. He knew how to use innuendo and insinuation like a pro. It was really a thing to behold. I later learned that pretty much all of his relationships followed the same pattern. People would get involved with him and get burned so hard, and everybody came to the same conclusion. How did I get myself mixed up with such a psycho? Why didn't I trust my intuition? Eventually we drifted apart, but he's still sort of in my reality because we're friends with many of the same people. It was a really strange experience. I've never met anyone quite like him. I've learned to trust my initial intuitions about people a lot more now. It seems like if someone gives off a creepy vibe, there's usually a good reason.
Old friend in high school was really crazy. Always got into shit with everyone. Texts me one day a year and a half after graduation. 3 years since I stopped talking to her.
Hey Anon, I know we had our shit back then, but I miss you. For old time's sake, could you do me a favor?
Completely ignored the text. Home alone, middle of the day. Hear people talking on the forest trail next to my house, kind of weird for late November. 1 hour later, cops show up at the house. Start asking questions about who lives here. Tell me that 2 guys said that they're residents. I don't even recognize the names. They described the house in perfect detail. Tell the officers about the text. That's all they need to hear. They leave. What the fuck is going on? A week later on the news. These 2 guys tried to murder their friend in the woods.
Okay, so I've been mulling this around. I'm not sure because light drugs were involved, but it was just weed. And weed doesn't do this shit to you. Anyway, this happened last week. Go to pagan festival. Never been a big pagan or anything, but have been growing extremely interested in any occult lately. Really enjoyed my time there. Start to understand the idea of group energy. Partake in the final rituals. It was a 2-part single ritual with a break in the middle for music and such. Start to feel extremely drained, even though I'd been relatively sedentary, and I usually only wake up around 9 p.m. Gets really bad. I have no energy. Start singing along with chanters. Don't know why. Gain energy. Feel warm. Dance all night around a fire. Feel welcome by all. A general feeling of giddiness and wonderment. Wake up next day. Everything is fucking fly. Festival is over. We're staying an extra day because fuck the rules. It's just us, about 30 others, mostly workers, and some other campers who don't give a shit. Eat 3 edibles. Feels good man.jpg. These edibles aren't the most badass, but they're good. Me and 2 friends decide to go on a walk in the woods. This festival takes place in the literal middle of nowhere. There isn't even an address for the place, as a business or anything. We walk, everything is groovy. Meet up with some festival friends, hang out at their fire. Cuddle with hot kitchen girl, she's the fucking best. Fall asleep seeing the weirdest shit. Weed isn't a hallucinogen. WTF dude next to me starts pointing out footsteps in the woods. Throws salt in the fire and welcomes whoever or whatever it is to join us. Get a relaxed vibe, feeling immediately. Pass out with a super hot kitchen chick. Wake up an hour later. Girl went to bed. Decide to take a walk. Walk down the path? Nah, fuck that, it's woods time. Get lost within minutes, normally never lost. Pretty good at in a woods. Start hearing rustling. God damn raccoons. It's not raccoons. Start seeing little tiny heads, faces, bodies poking out and running away, barely catching them with my sight. What the fucking fuck? These edibles can't just be weed. Hear giggles every time I lose footing or trip up on rocks, roots. Fuck you little face shit fuckers. Come to a path called The Old Way by longtime festival goers. This path was the original location of shrines and offerings. End up in the clearing. All noise has ceased. Everywhere. I know it's stereotypical, but seriously, the silence was painful. It was so quiet. See an impossibly tall man, wearing a huge wide-brimmed hat, holding a staff. Doesn't motion or move, but I get that he wants me to approach. I follow him through the woods, as he simply just exists 10 feet in front of me. I can't get closer no matter how hard I try. Take me through all kinds of old shrines. I can't read the words on them, but I understand as soon as I look away. The next one replaces that knowledge, as if I can only pick one. Keep following him. Close to my campsite now. He stops. I walk up to him, like a foot away now. I look up at his face. He is smiling, kind of like a proud father watching you play soccer or baseball. Look down on me. I realize he was never black, but a bright light behind him was always obscuring his features. He embraces me. I feel wetness in my hair. It's tears. He's crying. He turns me into the light. It hurts. But it feels good. But it is painful. I don't know how long I basked in the strange light. Finally he turns me back around. Leads me back to camp. I feel like a kid. Just. In every sense. I feel so childlike and giddy and naive. Get back to camp. Thank him. My bros are freaking out, trying to figure out who I'm talking to. No one is there. I walked up to camp alone. Annoying. Attention-seeking bitch complains to bros about me acting weird, saying she's scared. Best bro asking if I'm okay and shit. Girl tries to make it about her, and some shadow she saw like 12 years ago. Whatever. Sit in a camp chair. Pass the fuck out. I guess I didn't sleep. I did. But my body stayed up. I remember as I was falling into sleep I felt the very real sensation of 2 hands on my shoulders. Like a friend who's standing above and behind you would do. The hands were heavy, so very very heavy. I guess while I was asleep, I was making weird faces at everyone, saying strange cryptic things, and generally scaring everyone to fuck. Then I just stopped and hunched over. They put me in a chair by the fire and all went to bed. I have like no memory of anything after the hands. That's my story of pagan, Wiccan festivals so far.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.